It's happening again. Global BirdFair. Third year. And wow, what a year it's been. We've actually experienced everything at Global BirdFair. If anyone was here in 2022, we had a heat wave. The government actually told you not to go out. We're so dangerous. I think people just returned from Spain where it's about 35 and they said, what on earth are you talking about? It's only 30 degrees here. And then last year we had that incredible, what we still refer to as a biblical day, when the world literally came down and collapsed on us. So as a result of that, we had to look for a new site. And some of you will know that for many years I was the reserve manager about 500 yards away from down the hill there at Rutland Water Nature Reserve, and had this idea that maybe we could get closer to nature. Because at the showground, it was okay, but it was nowhere near nature. You know, we've got ospreys within a few hundred meters of us. We've got an internationally important nature reserve. And there was this incredible flat land being used by caravanners, and I thought, well, this is a perfect location to take our Global BirdFair to. Contacted the wonderful Mr. Richard B, who, without even hesitation, said, oh, that sounds like a good idea. He may be regretting it now when he sees 10,000 cars or whatever it is parked on there. But so really, it's welcome to this new fantastic site. For me, and Penny particularly, you know, it's been a fairly stressful few months. First of all, obviously having to try and find a new location, and then of course convince everybody that, you know, this is the place to be. And I think this morning, as we saw people queuing for miles into wherever, you know, coming through to this incredible event, we realised, wow, we've perhaps probably got it right. We've tried to get it right for over 30 years now, since the bird fair we started way back in 1989. And I think, you know, every year we learn from it, we listen. We're a bit like the old HSB bank. You know, remember that was the listening bank. So we try to take on board other people's ideas and pretend they're ours when it actually comes to it, but that's another story. And it works. And I think, you know, we're so happy to be here at the opening ceremony, particularly obviously working so closely with BirdLife International. It's a great organisation. It ticks every box that we want because we're so passionate about nature tourism, positive nature tourism. And the projects that they provide for Penny and I to look at each year just seems absolutely spot on, not just for us, not for you, but for the people in remote parts of the world where our pound will do so much for nature conservation. So it's a great honour to have our new Chief Executive, Martin Harper, come and address you. And I want to give him a massive round of applause, because Martin has been around the conservation world for a long time in RSPB, but he's now, we went, just very briefly, we went away for a few days to a bird fair in Brazil just a few months ago, 3-4 months ago. And I was so impressed the way he listened to everybody. And pretending, oh, I'm the CEO, I know this, I know. He was incredible. He just sort of sits there and he looks, and then he comes up with an amazing response to. And I hope that response and that friendship that we've built will continue for many years to come. So can I introduce Martin Harper, the new CEO of BirdLife International. Thank you, Steve.
That was a lovely welcome. Thank you very much, Tim. Actually, I'm not going to say much because we've got some fantastic speakers on the panel today. But the first thing I wanted to do was actually pay enormous tribute to Tim and to Penny, because it is 35 years strong now, BirdFair, wow. And every year these two extraordinary people bring us together in a field, a new field, somewhere in this county. And the thing is, what you may not be aware is that not only has BirdFair over the last 35 years raised more than, or contributed to at least £40 million worth of conservation effort around the world, helping BirdLife partners and BirdLife projects, it has also catalysed the most amazing movements of bird fairs in other parts of the world. So Tim and Penny, you are absolute superstars. We are very lucky that you still commit your heart and soul to bring us all here every July. I want to say a huge thank you. And yeah, those of you who don't know BirdLife International, we're a bit different from other NGOs because we're a partnership. We are now 123 partner organisations in 119 countries around the world. So we are the world's largest civil society partnership for nature, and I lead what we call the Secretariat. It's a team of 250 people of 58 nationalities spread out over 11 offices and around the world. And our job is really to try and provide the glue, the roadmap, and occasionally the rocket fuel to help our partners achieve a huge amount for nature. So, you know, the world's in trouble. We are facing a nature and climate emergency. But what I thought we should do today is to celebrate the work that we are trying to do to try and save migratory birds across the world. So in a moment I'm going to introduce you my brilliant colleague Nina Miskander, who's going to outline the work that we do as BirdLife on Flyways, and then you're going to hear from Khaled, who is the director of our partner in Egypt, Nature Conservation Egypt, and he is going to be introducing to you the project that's going to be benefiting from this year's BirdFair, and then Tomas from OSME, which is the group that helps conservation across the Middle East, North Africa and the Caucasus, and he's going to talk about how he's contributing that effort, and at the end I'm going to come and offer some final reflections. So it's going to be a little bit of a tour around the world. I hope you enjoy the journey. With no further ado, I'm going to hand over to my colleague Nina Miskander.
Thanks, Martin. It's great to be back at BirdFair. This is my second year. You're doing a lot better on the weather. Great. Thanks for that. Yeah, so I was asked to just give a little bit of an overview on what we're doing in terms of working on flyways at BirdLife. And as you can see, the title is Perilous Journeys, as they are. We'll see in a minute. I'm sure many of you are familiar with this this overview capturing bird migration across part of the world. It was published in National Geographic some years ago. And I'm sure many of you here know that feeling in spring when you're in the pre-dawn moment, shivering, you're in the dark, you're waiting for the birds to come back, and just that exhilaration and anticipation and excitement that migration inspires in all of us. And of course, we know the stories of these amazing migrations that are happening across the world, individual species displaying crazy speeds, endurance, and really braving a lot of threats along the way. So how do we at BirdLife and within the wider conservation community start to tackle working on these birds and moving towards something that is a coordinated conservation effort across flyways? So at BirdLife we work across 4 major flyways, so at global scale. This is how humans take what birds do and try to fit it in to something to help us help them. So in addition to these terrestrial and coastal flyways, at BirdLife we're also increasingly looking at working in marine flyways, so using flyways as a concept to help inspire governments and other organizations to work for seabirds in the marine space. But these are risky journeys at the best of times. And as humankind, we've made these risky journeys a lot more perilous than they need to be. Of the almost 2,000 migratory species, bird species, we currently count over 300 as threatened or near threatened with extinction. And we know, and this is something that I know that you observe in the UK as well, that many of our common species are in decline. They face a huge amount of threats, human-induced, during their migrations. We've listed a few here of the most perilous ones. So obviously agriculture expansion, we have illegal killing and hunting, so unsustainable use, deforestation. We have the threat of bycatch, but also invasive species and as well as disease like avian flu. Climate change is increasingly affecting the habitats that not only birds use, but of course climate change affects us all. And we have energy infrastructure that's not safe for birds, etc. So, What can we do in the face of these threats? Well, obviously, we have to work together. And this is the BirdLife recipe for flyway conservation. So everything starts with the science. We have an amazing science team at BirdLife, at the International Secretariat, but together with the wider conservation community and our partners, really focusing on understanding the problems, testing solutions. That's the basis for everything we do. Second comes the partnership, which Martin already mentioned. Really focusing on strengthening the partners, making sure we have strong organizations throughout the flyways. And this isn't just about BirdLife alone. We work together with a wide array of other key stakeholders, so that's governments, international treaties and agreements, flyway conservation networks. We have OSME with us on the stage today as one of the key organizations also working across flyways, etc. And then, of course, it comes down to the conservation action, advocacy, and communication throughout those flyways, making sure we're addressing those threats with targeted conservation and policy interventions and advocacy and conservation action at all scales necessary. And we're really looking beyond just tackling the immediate threats to birds and trying to look for opportunities to push for wider systems change. To make this happen, we really need to change the way the world works, and we're looking at avenues to do that. And Martin already mentioned the rocket fuel, so we are also working on mobilizing resources, and that's part of the effort today, obviously. Looking at traditional ways to raise funds for flyway conservation, but also to innovative solutions to increase flyway conservation finance. Martin already mentioned the partnership, so this is the new slide, updated with the Mongolian partner, just joined a few weeks ago. So what are the global priorities for BirdLife International that we're pursuing at the moment? So we have a really big flyways program led by Barend, who's here in the crowd. If you have more questions, he's the one to ask afterwards. Where we're focusing on tackling illegal killing and unsustainable use of migratory birds, the conservation of important wetlands for migratory water birds, looking at addressing risks and minimizing risks posed by energy infrastructure, particularly for soaring birds, and also looking at sustainable land use to help the conservation of migratory land birds. In the marine program, looking at those flyways again, focuses on addressing seabird bycatch and also the protection of critical seabird habitats in national waters, but also in the high seas. And then coming to the systems change bit, we're using the flyways as a basis for sustainable development change. So we're basically going to people and financial institutions, businesses who know nothing about birds and who probably don't really care. But we can use the flyways as a way to show how if you get governments and other actors working together across countries, then you can really affect change at scale. So scaling up the action and getting the money to do it. So just to show you some examples of the great work that's been ongoing, this is not so great, the example, but I'll get to what we've been doing. So I mentioned illegal killing and unsustainable use of birds. This is really a pervasive global threat. We don't, for all regions, yet know how extensive the threat is. BirdLife has done a bunch of reviews. You can see the staggering number in the millions there of birds that are killed illegally every year. We're working hard to do these kind of assessments in other regions as well so we can get a better picture, because we need the data, we need the science to be able to push for change in these countries where it's happening. But change is happening. So together with our partners and others in the conservation community, we've made huge progress in stopping bird poaching in the Mediterranean, coupling together all of those bits, so science, partnership, conservation, policy, communication, and the resources to do it. So we can now say that we have a 95% reduction of illegal trapping in Cyprus, and we've had really big reductions of illegal trapping in Croatia, Lebanon, Bosnia and Herzegovina. etc., etc. So change is possible, but only if we all work together and also at flyway level. And to give you a little teaser of the systems change we're talking about, so one example is the Regional Flyway Initiative that we've worked together with the Asian Development Bank and the East Asia Australasia Flyway Partnership to develop. So for the East Asia Australasia Flyway, focusing on the restoration and protection of wetland habitats critical for migratory water birds in the region. Of course, from a bird life perspective, this is all mainly about protecting those critical coastal habitats for threatened waders in the region. But this is a way where we can, not as BirdLife, receive funds, but influence the way that this bank, for example, is lending money to governments so that they implement their projects and focus their efforts also on conservation. So, just to conclude this little whirlwind around the world, it really is an all-hands-on-deck situation. This is not just something that BirdLife works on. We need everybody to step up and really encourage anyone here who's interested in flyway conservation to get involved. You can join your national BirdLife partner, which in the UK is RSPB. You can report your bird monitoring. So when you are out there in the freezing cold on that spring morning and you're counting those flocks coming in, then do report that. Citizen science is a really important part of this. And there are so many ways that you can help contribute, including obviously supporting the project that we're featuring here today with Nature Egypt. So all hands on deck, people. Join the cause.
Everything seems so calm now, but this bar-headed goose has flown over 2,500 kilometers, soaring over Mount Everest to get here. And it's not the only one. Twice a year, billions of birds embark on one of nature's greatest wonders, migration. Every spring and winter, migratory birds travel thousands of kilometers to their breeding and wintering grounds, facing tough tests of endurance and unique challenges along the way. Look at this little guy. It may not look it, but the rufous hummingbird is a mighty traveler. Weighing just a few grams, this tiny bird has flown more than 5,000 kilometers from Mexico to Alaska and all the way back. Birds follow ancient flyways, invisible highways in the sky. These routes form vast networks of habitats that act as refueling stations. But they are much more than that. They are biodiversity hotspots and key to the lives of millions of people, providing food, water, and shelter from the effects of climate change. Protecting flyways on the ground is a comprehensive approach to conservation. That's what we do in BirdLife's Global Flyways program. With local and international conservation projects and building partnerships around the world, there is so much to do. Take the spoon-billed sandpiper, which flies up to 8,000 kilometers along the East Asian Australasian Flyway. Sadly, this amazing bird is now threatened with extinction due to habitat loss. Or the bar-tailed godwit, which is breaking records with its non-stop flight from Alaska to New Zealand. Its population is declining due to the gradual and worrying disappearance of wetlands. It's not just about stamina anymore. Our actions are putting migratory birds at risk. Habitat destruction, climate change, illegal hunting, poorly placed infrastructure. The impact of these threats on their survival reflects the wider impact of unsustainable practices on all of us. That's why our Global Flyways program works at all levels, identifying and conserving important sites for migratory birds, building international partnerships to protect species along corridors, and working with local communities and business sectors to create biodiversity-friendly development. Join us in this mission. Together, we can ensure that these incredible journeys continue for the birds and for the future of our planet. Because birds connect us all.
Good afternoon, everyone. Amazing animals, amazing people also that you are to look after all of this. I'm Khaled, Noby, I'm the Director of Nature Conservation Egypt, and I'm very glad to be here. It has been always a dream. This is my first time to the Bird Fair, not only me, but also with Haytham and Water, two of my colleagues in Egypt. Today I'll be talking about Galala Bird Observatory, which is not only a project that I will speak about the details, but also it tells the whole story of conservation efforts and conservation spirit in the developing countries, challenges, opportunities, but also how the international society and the international organizations support and help. It's amazing to feel that we are seen, we are appreciated, and our work is being supported, and it has global significance. So today I'll be talking about what Galala Bird Observatory, why is it important for NCE, and why it is important to the world, we believe, and why should it be supported, and how is it to be there, and what's the future will be like as we vision it. This is where everything started. Back in 2020, one of NCE members went there to practice paragliding, jumping from this cliff, and he was astonished by observing hundreds of steppe eagle migrating very, very close. All of those footage were taken by his cell phone to show you how close they were. So it all started from an interest of bird watching. It's an opportunity to have a closer look to steppe eagle. And then we went to explore the place. The position lies here exactly on the tip of the Gulf of Suez, where a bottleneck for all migration for the flyway, as my colleague Nina spoke about. It's very significant for the whole migration in the flyway. We thought that we need to take a proper action. We need to test the site to investigate whether it's really worthy or not. And here it comes the power of BirdLife, because to be honest, and it's not just a talk in a bird fair or propaganda talk. This is reality. We feel supported by BirdLife International. We approached all of partners mentioned or here in the screen were participated significantly in the launching of this project. All of them came to Egypt for almost 2 months to set a plan and a methodology and to do a proper count for a full spring to see whether it's really worth investing in or not. Where is Galala? Exactly, so this is where we were in 2022, and we tested 9 points along all of this plateau, and we compared each and one of them to make sure where are the permanent points for the migration throughout the spring. We also tested the same site in autumn, but autumn were not significant at all for migration. So we decided to focus on spring, and we managed to do this over the past 3 years. So we have 6 populations of raptor that cross every year from Galala in spring with a significant proportion of their global population. For example, we estimate about 11% of the global population of Egyptian vulture cross from this point and can be monitored. And we can see whether our conservation actions are making impact or not. Last year, if I remember right, we reached very close to 50% of the global population of steppe eagle. Wow. During spring. Those are the numbers from previous years. In 2020, it was like, you can tell an average every spring we count 350,000 of raptors and soaring birds. Last year was 23 species, the year before 35 and 31, and we will continue. But Galala for NCE is not just an excellent and spectacular site for raptor monitoring and observation and watching, but also we use this as an entry point to have a dialogue with the government to convince them of endorsing and adopting conservation actions on the ground. In this site, we found nesting for sooty falcon for the first time to be seen in this region. Nesting, we knew that it nests in islands on the Red Sea, but it also nests on the cliff. And also this endangered beautiful mammal, the Nubian ibex, which is endangered as well, lives, as you see, very close to the newly constructed city on the top of the mountain. So the site has a lot of opportunities, but also a lot of threats, as any other site in the world. In this video, we will see how the area developed just over the past 5 years only. So this is a time lapse from 1884 until 2022. And you will see the area was just, nothing is there, just the mountain. And starting from 2017, the government decided to invest and build a big city and a university on the top of the mountain. So all of this wilderness and endangered species are endangered. So we took this project to the government and we told them, you have a unique site, not just to Egypt, but we believe to the world. So it's worth conservation. And since then, we are a permanent party in the dialogue with the government whenever it comes to further development in this area. But we face a challenge as well of qualification migration from Egypt. Almost every qualified person in the field of conservation in Egypt is now migrated to work in the Gulf countries, where they can easily offer 3 times or 4 times more of our current salaries in NCE. I would like to thank my colleagues in NCE, Haytham and Water. Each of them could easily earn much, much more, but they just decide to work for NCE and for conservation. So we don't have people to help us to make it sustainable. So we adopt a training program with the university there to have every spring a course for identification and counting for their students to increase the community of young people so that they can support us and support the Galala Bird Observatory and also all conservation actions in the ground. Thanks to OSMI, we will know more about it. Maybe my friend Tomas will speak about, but with their generous fund, particularly for the training, we could do the training for the past 2 years. This footage after the 2 successful training over the past 2 years. So what Galala offers actually, it offers spectacular seeing and sighting of raptors. Those are imperial eagle and a steppe eagle fighting. I think I was there during this photo. It was taken by my colleague Water. It was very close, like something like 40 meters away from your naked eye. If you come to Galala, I promise you see a lot of such behaviors, very close. But Galala is not only important in the monitoring of the endangered population, but also it's like a lens on the flyway. We can see what is going on in terms of threats. This photo here, I'm not sure if you can see it right, but this poor steppe eagle is flying with a trap attaching to its leg. So someone was trying to catch it, but it managed to fly with the trap. This other one is also, I think, a long-legged buzzard flying with a trap attached to its leg. Not only that, this actually, in this side, is not a black stork. It is a white stork, but contaminated with oil, so it turned black. So we can see that, we can notice there is an oil spill along the flyway from Galala. This steppe eagle also is infected by ticks on its face. It's almost blind, and it was not the only individual this season. We managed to photograph randomly, we were not targeting this, at least 7 individuals. And so on, and this is a tagged vulture, griffon vulture, and this is a tagged black stork, so you can monitor also other efforts of conservation. You can see rarities also, like the oriental crested honey buzzard. Last year we counted almost 60 individuals, and it was quite surprising to be seen in this site. And this is how it feels like if you decide to visit. This is how close you can get to the migration.
Wow.
Those are colleagues from RSPB. Thank you. I see Jenny here. Thanks, Jenny. And after visiting Galala, we promise you will feel like this. This is Stoyan Nikolov. He had a great role to play in launching this project. I really admire his support. Thanks to all partners and supporters who made it happening for the past 3 years. Everyone here supported significantly in the project. And I would like to thank the team of NCE. Without them, this could have never been done. Thanks to the Global BirdFair to be here to enjoy this beautiful event that we always hear about from a long time. And now we have the privilege to witness it. And thanks for helping us to be able to continue. Thank you, and we are looking forward to see you. And with the support of this project, we can have a proper infrastructure, not just tent like this. Thank you, and hope to see you there.
Welcome to the Galala Observatory. This joint project between the Egyptian Ministry of Environment and BirdLife's partner, Nature Conservation Egypt, opens a window on the breathtaking spectacle of bird migration. Located near Galala City in Egypt, the observatory offers an unparalleled view of one of the strategic bottlenecks used by birds to cross the Red Sea. The view alone is worth a visit, but this observatory can also be a powerful conservation tool. The migrant birds passing Galala represent globally significant proportions of species populations that spend the summer in Eastern Europe and in Western and Central Asia. Every spring, ornithologists gather at the observatory to monitor raptors as they pass over the Galala Plateau. The 2024 figures are astounding. Nearly 340,000 birds recorded, over 30 species monitored, from white storks to Eleanor's falcon, including around 25% of the global lesser-spotted eagle population. This data is essential for analyzing population changes and migration phenology. It also provides important insights into BirdLife's conservation efforts along the corridor, allowing us to design new projects to keep the East African Eurasian Flyway a vibrant hub of biodiversity. There are no other similar migratory observation points in Egypt. That's why Global BirdFair has chosen this project for their Creating Brighter Futures initiative. Your support can make a big difference. With your donation, you will be helping to develop Galala as a permanent migration observatory, providing relevant data for expanding BirdLife's Global Flyways conservation program.
What a video. Jesus. Anybody want to go to Galala? Yeah! I haven't been there myself yet. I really hope to go. Even more now. Thank you, Khaled. Awesome work. Awesome.
Looking forward to see you.
Yeah, Jesus. My name is Tomas Haraldssen. I represent OSMI. That's the Ornithological Society of the Middle East, the Caucasus and Central Asia. For more than 50 years now, we have been supporting, funding and helping to develop bird conservation work across this region, spanning from Egypt, Cyprus and Turkey in the west, all the way eastwards into Kyrgyzstan, Afghanistan in the east. So across this vast region, we've been supporting small-scale, medium-scale work for many decades. 5 years ago, at this bird fair, we launched the latest addition to our small grants program called the Youth Development Fund, and I happily took up the role as the Youth Development Officer. So we celebrate 5 years anniversary now at the bird fair. This was because we have been approached by more and more people, partners and key players in the Middle East to focus on the people, on the youth, on the coming generation. There was a need to build local capacity to train young people into monitoring raptor conservation, as Khaled exemplified with, and also to cover school visits and involve university students and to help counter the brain drain that Khaled mentioned, qualified people leaving their country of origin to live elsewhere. So we want to build the next generation of nature protectors and conservationists across this region. So we launched the Youth Development Fund 5 years ago, and since then we have been supporting projects all across the region. There is a new project now this year in Kyrgyzstan. A very capable local partner there have been funded by us to build 2 local bird clubs at the universities in Bishkek, the capital in Kyrgyzstan. This is critical work in many regions and countries that are very, very short on capable nature conservationists that can be counted on a very few fingers. So we need to build local capacity to involve more young local people to help counter the widespread illegal bird killing, for example, and to raise awareness on how to conserve birds and nature. We are currently supporting 3 different projects in Egypt, of which one is the excellent work carried out by Khaled and his team at Galala. So for week-long periods, we have been helping to train local young talents for this spring and the past spring, how to identify flying raptors. That's not super easy, as you know. To learn the basics about bird migration, where do they go, why do they pass here, what threats do they face, and how to carry out monitoring and data collection in the field, to learn the basics on that. So we are really happy to be involved. Thanks a lot for having us really on this platform. Thanks to Tim and Penny for this fine arrangement, for having OSMI and the local and regional birding clubs involved. It's a good platform, and together we can really make some good work done in this critical region for bird migration. So with that being said, I think I hand the word back to Martin, there you are, to wrap it up. Yeah.
The first thing to say is, thanks so much, Nina, Khaled, and Tomas, for 3 fantastic speeches. I've got 3 reflections from what I've just been listening to. The first thing is, it's just the most powerful reminder that birds connect us all across countries and across continents, and that is the wonderful thing about the partnership of BirdFair, of BirdLife, and indeed other organisations like OSMI. We are all connected and working for a common goal, which is to try and ensure that we live in harmony with the rest of nature, especially our migratory birds. And my second observation is, I think that Khaled brought to life some of the challenges and pressures about trying to create an NGO working in a country like Egypt. And it is only thanks to the heroic efforts of Khaled and his team, Vetter and Hytham and others, that you can actually have strong civil society within Egypt, as indeed elsewhere in the BirdLife Partnership, because that is absolutely instrumental in delivering lasting change. It's about trying to make great, big, bird-loving societies in every country of the world, and that is the long-term ambition of BirdLife. And my third reflection is the reason that Khaled can stand up here and talk about this incredible project at Galala is partly because you guys come to BirdFair every year and you raise money for staggering projects like the Galala. So thank you so much to all of you for your long-term support for BirdFair, and of course to Tim and Penny for making it happen, because you are actually contributing hugely to conservation around the world. And if you like